Hey everyone, welcome. It's a little bit early, so we're just going to wait for everyone to show up, but I wanted to make sure that this has gone live and that you can hear me and it's all good. So hang on, we're going to just test a few things. Can you see it on yours, Lisa? Alright, so I'm just testing if one person wants to write in the comments, if you can hear me okay, if you can see me okay, that would be great. What's the countdown, Lisa? Is it time? Alright. Alright, so welcome everyone. As you know, I'm Lisa Roper and Pro Staff with Cabela's Bass Pro, and super excited to be here today. One of my first lives, so go easy on me. And I just want to say thank you to a good friend of mine, Lisa, who is running the camera, and she's going to be reading out any comments or questions you might have. And I must say, it's a little intimidating to follow the amazing pro staff before me. So thanks Gord and Jeff and Jason and Pam. You guys did an amazing job. So let's get into it. Let's have some fun talking about pike fishing. So first of all, we're in my ice fishing shack. Wasn't sure on the weather. It's been a little unstable lately, so I didn't want to set up the tent. And so we're going to do it here. And we're going to start with tip-ups. It's one of the first and foremost that I go to when I'm fishing for pike, and I have a couple different setups that I like to use. So this one is the Polar Thermal by HT, and the one thing I like about this tip-up is that it covers the hole, and that's super important because you less chance of your hole freezing up, which you know is crucial when you're coming to take a fish out. And I have it threaded with Dacron line, and I usually, somewhere if I'm going after the big pike, somewhere in that 30 to 50 pound test. And I like to use my Quick Strike. These ones are by Northlands, and I have the little spinners on them that I kind of like. I mean, whether there's a little bit of current underneath or the pike's coming around, I just like having that little bit of extra flash and vibration. The other thing I do like about this tip-up, you have the extended flag, which is great, especially when it's, you know, you're in deeper snow or wind. So those are kind of the things I like about this one. And then I also use, quite often, I will use the Ice Master Gold. And same idea, right? Just you're going to put it over your hole just as you do this one. But the one thing I do add is a foam cover. And again, it's just to keep the hole from freezing up and less maintenance. So anyways, just to give you an idea of kind of what it looks like. And so again, your hole doesn't freeze up. It's great, especially on those cold days, and it's less maintenance on your hole. Your tip up goes up, and you just remove your foam and away you go. So let me just get a little bit organized here. Alright, so I'm going to just explain for those of you who you know, maybe haven't used tip-ups a lot, how they work. So basically the really nice thing about tip-ups, again, is that your spool, your line, is all submerged in the water, so this never really freezes up on you. And I like to, like I said, hook it up with a quick strike. Quick strike is really great because it kind of is exactly as it says. The pike hits and you can instantly set your hook. You're not having to wait or let the fish run. And so the way that I like to bait my quick strike, I use all different sizes, so maybe we'll get into that a little bit. So I use, depending on where I'm at, which lake, which structure I'm fishing, I use all kinds of different baits and sizes. So these are suckerfish and these are smelts. And I'm just going to use a smaller one for now because it's a little bit more unthought than the other ones. And so what I like to do, so a lot of people, or even the way I used to fish with a quick strike, is that I would hook the fish, the bait, sorry, horizontally. And so I have found that a better way of hooking up the bait, and definitely more success with my pike, is that I hook it up with the bait kind of sitting down horizontally. And so pike, most often when they come in and they take their bait, they're taking it head first. And so to hook up my bait, so I like to take one of my trebles, and you'll notice that I put the kind of the flat part of the treble towards the head of the bait. And again, the reason for that is because when the pike comes in, they come in, they close their lips around it, and they take the hook into the lip, right? If you turn it the other way, they're just going to slide right off. There's nothing there for them to grab. So I like to put one of the trebles just right by the dorsal fin. This one doesn't have much of a tail, and the so maybe not the best bait for me to to have picked, but same idea. I definitely like to go into the tail. Thicker skin just holds a lot nicer. Oh, this is probably need a different bait. Okay, does that look? Yeah, that looks pretty good. So again, that's what it looks like when I have it down in the augered hole under the ice. So as you can see, the head is pointed down, so more in a vertical position. And you can even move the front treble back a little bit more if you want more of that straight vertical. And then from there, just going to take this back out because this bait's not doing so well. So then from there, drop it into the hole and, you know, put it down. Now, I'm going to just hold because I feel like I'm a little bit ahead of myself. Give me a second. Okay. Okay, let's go back to the bait a little bit more and let me talk a little bit more about the bait. So here in Alberta, we can only use dead bait. We're not allowed to use live bait. So I'm just saying that dead bait is great. The way I look at it is pike are known as water wolves, right? That's another nickname for them. Which, if you look at a wolf on land, right, such a smart predator, and definitely knows how to attack its prey. But a wolf on land will very much go for any kind of an easy kill. So something that's already dead, the wolves will get on it and eat it. I look at the pike the same way, and so that's why dead bait to me seems to be the right answer. And so now there's a couple ways that I like to use the dead bait within the water column. So again, depending on where I'm fishing, I've had really good success suspending the bait. And so kind of a rule of thumb that I like to use is if I'm in more of a shallow water, so shallow being that 12 to 15 feet, I will put down my quick strike with the bait on it at about the mid-column, maybe even a foot less than mid-column. And then if I'm going out a little bit deeper, then I'm usually like 2 to 3 feet off the lake bottom. Now, having said that, I've also had really good success where I find the pike aren't coming in to take it suspended. And so what I like to do in that case, especially if I'm fishing any type of, the outskirts of vegetation. So let's say I'm fishing an island and, it kind of comes up and there's quite a bit of vegetation in that 6 feet. I will set up one of my tip-ups at the 8 or 9 feet, so just outside that vegetation out of weed flat. And so just a small amount of vegetation that you'll see underneath down your hole. And I will put the bait, I will just keep playing with it until it rocks itself back down to the bottom where it's kind of the belly's up. And my theory on that one is that the flash of the white seems to come in and the pike come in and take the bait. So those are two different ways that I like to fish with a tip up and with a quick strike. What else can I tell you about that? Oh, the other thing that I like to use definitely with my baits are oily baits. And so that's why I use things like smelts and whitefish because the oil from the fish seep into the water and add more of a scent, which I feel attracts the pike more. And just one second, yeah, Lisa?
Jeff asks, do you like indigenous baits like suckers and ciscos, or do you like seafood baits like mackerel and herring?
To be honest, I use all four. So I haven't had the best success with mackerel yet, but definitely with suckers and ciscos and smelts and herring have been kind of my go-to baits. Any other questions at this time? No? All right. So, okay. Let me explain a little bit more too about the baits with regards to the dead baits and why we kind of explained why the pike go after the dead baits. So one of the things, especially later in the ice fishing season, so February, March, food becomes a little bit not as plentiful for the pike, as well as, oxygen levels drop, your water temperature drops a little bit more, and again, they're kind of looking for that easy food. And so that's, just really want to, drive home why I use dead baits. Even in provinces that allow live baits, I will still go to dead baits when I'm ice fishing. Okay, we're going to leave that. So, the other thing that I like to do, actually, sorry, before I keep going, how much time do we have?
We're only 10 minutes in.
Okay. So, another thing that I like to do with regards to fishing for big pike is I also like to jig for pike. And so, a couple different ways that I like to jig for pike. One is I like my Len Thompson spoons. Everyone knows that. And so this is a number 4 Len Thompson. And what I like to do with it, so I usually use, I almost always use braided line. And then I go with a fluorocarbon leader. And usually around that 30 to 40 pound leader. And then from there, I put on my spoon. Okay. And then what I like to do, maybe that's not thought enough. Okay. So what I like to do is 2 of the 3 trebles. I put my dead bait through the 2 trebles. So again, because I still want my bait to be in a bit of a vertical positioning, so I'll take the 1 treble and go right in the dorsal fin, and then the other treble, of course, we don't have a choice because it's deciding this where it goes for us. But that's what it'll look like for me. Okay, and then I can jig that pretty aggressively under the ice, and I've had good success with this. I didn't quite get that in there. All right, there we go. And so the one thing I do like when I find the pike are a little bit more active, they're not just looking for something that's sitting still. I will jig with the spoon, and I will, it's the flash, it's the vibration. A lot of times I'll jig, like quite aggressively, really ripping it, slam it on the bottom, and then hold it. Just just leave it, let it be still, and I'll just keep repeating that. And so, you know, maybe I'll let it be still for like 2 to 5 minutes, and then again I kind of go back at it, jigging hard, working the whole water column, and then letting this nice big spoon, you know, just flutter down. And again, the flash, the vibration quite often will bring in a pike. And another thing that I really like about this is when, you know, say I'm in an area where I feel very comfortable, that I know, you know, there should be pike here, everything indicates that the pike are here, and I'll put my tip up down in one hole. In Alberta we can have 2 lines, so I'll put my tip up down, you know, whether I leave it a bit suspended or even sometimes, like I was saying, flat on the bottom. And then I'll drill another hole maybe 3 to 4 feet from that tip up hole, and I will just take a spoon or a, you know, a rattle bait or something of that nature that makes a lot of noise, a lot of flash, and I'll just, like I said, just rip it, jig it, and quite often the pike will come in and they will wind up hitting my tip up. But the thing is that I've brought, you know, that flash and vibration to bring them in to take the tip up. So another little fun thing I like to do.
Sonia asked, do you brine your bait, or do you prepare your bait in any way?
No, I don't. I get my bait from Campbell's Baits. It comes frozen. They're great. They're solid baits, and so I don't do anything other than putting them on my hook. Okay, so another way that I like to fish, another way I like to jig, and I'm going to use that bait, is, okay. So what I do is I have a little rigging, and so what I like to use is the I don't even know how to say this right, I never do say it right, Gamamatsu. Hopefully I said that right. That's a lot of words for my Ukrainian mouth. So what I like to do is hook that onto a leader, and it is a barbless hook, and these ones are the ones I'm using. These ones are number 5s. And so what I do is I like to thread, you know, this leader through the bait. And so I don't know if you can see this, I'm just going to walk up. So basically just made a little loop. I don't know if you can see that. And I have a little threading tool. And so I take that little loop, I put it through this threading tool, and then what I like to do is go through the bait, the mouth of the bait. Okay, and then you're just pushing that threading tool through the inside of the bait, and then you're going to pop it out on the back side of the dorsal fin, like so. Okay, and then you're going to take your leader and add it in. Pull it right through. Did I get it? Oh, sorry. Should have just had one done already. Okay, so again, thread it. I think I'm nervous, I'm shaking. Let me try that one more time and hopefully this works. There we go, maybe. Yep, there we go, winner, winner. Okay, so thread it through, and then I take the barbless hook. Now this one is a little bit big for my bait. You know, I would, for a number 5, I would use a bigger bait, frozen bait. But for today's example, we're going to use this one. And so then I just put it on the side of the mouth, like so. And again, the idea is that when pike come in, right, they take it head first, and this hook is gonna stay within that front part of their mouth or on their lip, and then you're gonna tie obviously the leader to your rod. I like to use medium heavy to heavy rod when I'm going after these big pike, and just want to show you what it looks like and kind of what I do. slimy hands.
I could pre-rig a bunch of these at home before I come. If it was really cold out, it would be easier to...
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's true. You could. Yeah, you could so Lisa was just saying, you could pre-rig these at home, right? Keep your bait frozen, they're ready to go. And then, especially when you're outside in the elements, right? Right now this is kind of nice because it's heated in here. Okay, so that's what it looks like. So again, it's back in that vertical positioning. And again, the hook is barbless and it's just right in that front, so they take it, pull down, and you've got them in the front part or the lip. And so I will jig this quite aggressively. And I've had really good success doing this method. So this is another way. I'm just throwing it down there because I can. All right. Sit in the rod holder for now. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about weather. So for me, I find that some of my best days, most successful days of landing those big trophy pike are on the most clearest, beautiful blue sky, full sun type days. And definitely on the days when it's a little more cloudy or we have a weather front come in, I don't have as good a success. So that's something to consider if you're headed out fishing. Earlier today when I was setting up, and I was just throwing a Len Thompson number 4 down, and I was doing some jigging, and we had a pike come in right away. Fortunately, he didn't take the hook, but that was a lot of fun. Okay, just making sure I've covered that. Alright, so I know earlier we had a question about electronics and what I like to use. So when I'm running and gunning, so I guess I should back that up a little bit. So on most lakes, location, right, when it comes to fishing and definitely looking for those big pike. And so when I'm out on a brand new lake, I'm always starting with some type of mapping system, right? And, looking for structure, looking for islands in this time of year, so February, March. I like to do a lot of fishing for pike kind of in that, the mid-lake, so I'm definitely not on the shoreline. And so on the mid-lake or the middle of the lake, I'm looking for islands, humps, saddles, all those types of things. So for example, the other day I went out and I was on this new lake and we came across, I kind of saw it on the map, started drilling some holes and found the island that, it had come up, kept drilling and then found the weed flat and it went out for quite a ways and then dropped back down to 30 feet. So I fished on this side of the weed flat. I was in about 9 feet of water and I was just jigging with my Len Thompson number 4. And had a beautiful pike come and hit it. So again, those are kind of some of the areas that I like to look for in February and March. And of course, there's always weed beds, weed flats are always a great area for pike. But take a risk, be creative, find some different structure, especially adjacent to the main bays or the main lake, because a lot of pike will hold out there. I'm a believer that the trophy pike are predatorial, so a lot of times when I'm fishing on a lake that I've already fished in late fall, and I've had good success, when I first ice December and January, I will just hit some of those same areas, and quite often I've had good success landing some nice pike. What else can I tell you about location and things I like to do?
Mark asks, what is a standard hole size that you like to use?
Well, I've done a couple things, Mark. I do like my 10-inch hole, but I've also drilled 2 8-inch holes side by side. And especially when I'm by myself, I just find that, number one, you know, I have a better chance of taking care of the fish, and it just gives me a little bit more room when those big pike come in, because they're not always calm and polite. All right, any other questions? No? Okay. Okay, so going back to, so when I'm out pike fishing, well, really any fishing, pike, walleye, perch, all of it, I do like my sonar. So I run with a Humminbird. It's got the mapping system in it as well as the sonar. I kind of don't leave home without it, because I just find it's great. And of course, you know, you're not always looking for the big pike, right? You're looking for bait fish. It's kind of like I always say in hunting, we're not always looking for the big bucks. We're looking for the does, because you find the does, you find the bucks. Same idea. You find the bait fish, you're going to find the bigger fish that you're looking for. So sonar works great when I'm stationary, and especially for families and kids. You know, for an example, here in my fishing shack, I do have a fishing camera, underwater camera, and it is so great when you have a family, kids who, you know, get bored fast or whatever. You know, there's so much action that you can just watch, you know, even some of the bait fish that are coming in or what have you, and I just find that it keeps kids engaged longer and more excited. And of course, it's always nice to see those big giant pikes come in, even if they're not biting some days, just to watch their behavior and learn so much about them. Okay, so with that, when I'm out running and gunning, so my rule of thumb is, you know, 30 to 40 minutes before I will pack up and keep going. But if I feel like, you know, I'm in an area where, you know, this is pike country, I have sat all day for one big pike, and that's just something that I choose to do, and it's paid off. So, any other questions? Yeah?
Sonia asks, if you use a 30 to 40 pound fluoro leader, do you still need a steel leader?
No, I do not. I stay strictly with just the fluoro leader. Good question. Thank you. Okay. Well, that's really all I had. If there's any questions, please throw them at me. Maybe I guess I really didn't explain, I can go back to this part. I didn't explain the tip up very well and how it works, so let me just backtrack. Okay, a couple things with tip ups, especially with your big fish. You want to make sure that, you know, the line on your tip up, whatever you use, I use Dacron, you want to make sure that when you're winding it up, that you're winding it up tight, because you don't want all that extra slack in your tip up when a fish comes and takes it. So for now, I'm just going to do this because let's just move along. Okay. So for those of you who haven't used the tip up, very simple on how it works. So you're going to set your tip up over the hole. I think this hole is too big. Yeah. Okay. So you're going to set it up. Okay, normally you wouldn't put this there. I'm just doing it because this hole is too big for it. All right. You're going to put your flag under the bar. There we go. Okay, so that's how you would set it up. And then once a fish comes in and it pulls on your quick strike, which then we're going to do that.
How do you set the tension for your flag?
Okay, and then once the fish comes in and pulls down on your line, then it tips up the flag, letting you know you have a fish on. How do you set the tension?
You can set the trip tension for how the flag. That's what I'm asking. I thought you could make it more sensitive or less sensitive.
Good question, and I don't have the answer for that. I don't know that answer. I assume Yeah, I don't know. So maybe ask the question again.
I just asked if you can set how sensitive the flag is for it to trip.
Okay. So she's asking if you can set the tension on the flag, making it more sensitive to trip. And Jeff or Gordon or anybody in that knows the answer to that, because I do not, please chime in and answer that in the comments for us. Thank you. All right, any other questions? Okay. All right, so if there are no further questions, then I think we're going to wrap this up. And I just want to say thank you all for joining and being a part of this. I hope you came away with a few tips and a few tricks to take out on the ice with you.